So the old Kirk man says they're aiming to make 8 seasons of Invincible. This is nothing new. We'd heard about this before. But apparently, people say it's too much. But I saw this quote tweet, and honestly, I don't even need to say anything. This is perfect. Everyone's saying 8 is too much. Think about how there are barely any shows that become cultural landmarks anymore since they get canceled after 2 seasons. I don't think it's even about getting canceled. I'll talk about it. Nothing is able to build a fan base or legacy anymore. Plus, it keeps people employed for years and years instead of months. And there was another tweet. So glad this show releases 1 episode a week too, because can you imagine how big the finale viewing hype will be? The Succession finale was such a special moment that really doesn't happen anymore. I'm grateful when we get anything like that now. Now, I promise this is not an alt of mine. I promise. This is not me tweeting, okay? But I agree with this completely. The only thing that I would add here is the fact that we don't really have like these cultural landmark TV shows, because I think there are too many TV shows and nothing tries to be like people are making shows for niches, I guess is the best way to put it. Whereas shows like Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead just were bold with its message and they never compromised on anything, you know? So I think there are like so many different little bubbles of communities that I don't think we're going to get like another cultural phenomena that like everyone is actively watching. I do think Squid Game was very close to that in like 2021 when it released, but they botched it by, as the second tweet right here says, by making it a binge release. So when people actually caught on, it was literally over before it even started. So this is very, very sad. But yeah, I do agree with this 100%. If you have multiple seasons and people are following along with it continuously, week over week, month after month, and most importantly, there is not 3 years between seasons, then I think you're already setting yourself up to be successful. It can be too much, but the issue is that's running past the storyline. I mean, Kirkman's very involved with Invincible as far as I know, so I would assume that there could easily be more material that is written. I don't know much about the source material for Invincible. When the show started, I was just like, I'm not gonna watch it. Or read it, rather. Squid Game is perfect for weekly releases. Can you imagine Season 1 if it were weekly? Season 1 had the perfect amount of, like, this... How do I even describe it? It's like that Death Note-esque horror that keeps you watching every single week because you genuinely are like, what the hell is gonna happen? Squid Game pulled no punches right up until the end because it was envisioned as a single season story, really. But you know, I think if Squid Game came out weekly and it caught on with episode 1 and episode 2, it would have been one of the biggest shows of the past decade. Genuinely. Squid Game had everything going for it. Everything. And season 2, like if you watch season 2, every single episode... like, almost to a funny degree, every single episode had a cliffhanger, even if it was kind of funny. I wish more shows take a look at something like Invincible and start taking notes. Because if you look at even like House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, by the way, The Last of Us got more and more viewers with every single passing week. The Last of Us started with its lower viewer figures of the entire season. And then it kept building and building and building and building. And if you structure a show around this model that Game of Thrones popularized and The Walking Dead popularized, where it just builds and builds and builds and then there's a big explosion that everyone's looking forward to. Oh my god. I hate batch releases. I think I've made this clear. I think batch releases destroy community engagement. I think they destroy interest in the show. I think most people will never remember anything about the show because it's just a blur that you sat through and it's like one big block and that's it. It's objectively worse in my opinion. Objectively. I hate it. And the thing is, like, Netflix is already sort of showing that they clearly know that they should stagger their releases. Most of their big shows are now releasing in parts. So they know. I just don't know why they're not trying to gradually move towards actually like smaller chunks. Even more recently, Arcane doing its like batch drops. That was also like much more successful because of it. Bring back weekly releases. And please, cut back on the CGI and release more episodes per year. And then we can be talking. Then we're talking. I don't want to watch 8 episodes every 3 years. Because I don't remember. There is too much stuff coming out. Too many things. Too many things. Like, I'm gonna be real. When I was, because I'm watching Squid Game as a casual Andy goober brain. I'm not analyzing. I'm just watching. Brain off, entertainment. Right? And I barely remembered anyone from season 1. And by barely, I mean no one. The only person I remembered is Gi-hun. That's it. Everyone else was to me a blur. And had there been like 9-10 months in between, obviously that wouldn't be an issue. But you know, and it doesn't help that I binged the entire thing. That's it. I've ranted about this like literally 500 times. I promise I'm gonna stop. Promise. That's it. I also have a controversial take about batch releases. I think batch releases are a good middle ground. However, purely thinking about how I initially didn't get caught up to Arcane, and I still haven't watched it. You know why? Because it was too much at once. Batch releases in this situation, for me personally, talking purely about myself, I know I'm a goofy goober. I know. But when Squid Game came out, I watched the entire thing because it was just one thing, right? When, like, I don't know, House of the Dragon was coming out or whatever was coming out, I watched it weekly because it was one episode a week. Arcane was too much for a single session where I'm just sitting down to watch something, but it was too little to binge the entire thing. So I've never watched it even now. And I will watch it. Absolutely, I will watch Arcane. I watched like one episode. I will watch the entire thing. But for me personally, that was why I didn't keep up with it. It's a very weird issue to have, I know, but it happened. Isn't that a problem with the consumer but the publisher? I absolutely agree with you. The fact that I'm a goofy goober and I forgot all the character names, that is a problem with me. However, as a publisher, you must also acknowledge that the consumer exists, right? It's the same thing as, think about it this way. Video games. Video games cost hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. People don't want to pay for them. They don't. So you as the publisher, you don't need to explain to the consumer that, listen, I've spent $500 million on this game. You're gonna pay me $80. No. You need to keep in mind that the consumer still has a value thingy, right? That they gauge things at. So it's not like a one-to-one, obviously, but purely in terms of like how you structure business decisions, even though your consumer might not be like fully rational in this situation, you know? Because I know like a lot of things are always assumed under like everyone's gonna be on the same page, everyone's gonna collaborate. That's not really how things work. I hope that made sense. Best to binge 3 episodes at a time. 3 episodes at a time is like too much. If it's anime, 3 episodes is nothing, but Arcane is long. 3 episodes at once is a long time. I'm just gonna binge the entire thing at some point. I don't know when though. It's under this logic that we got the binge release model in the second screen movie syndrome. Absolutely. You are absolutely right. And I am a part of the problem, yes. Yes, you are absolutely right. And that is the contradiction that you're always facing with consumers. Absolutely. You didn't have to call out the second screen movies, though. I watch a lot of those. I think I've talked about my tier list of how I watch things, whether it's like at 1 times speed and on my main monitor, or it's like 2 times speed on my second monitor. I have a whole tier list of how I watch things.